So today we're doing a deep dive into a case that, honestly, it really gets to the heart of a tough question.
It's the 2025 Supreme Court judgment, Rakhi Sadhukhan v. Rakhi Sadhukhan.
Right. And the question is this. After a marriage that lasts over 20 years, is alimony just supposed to be a survival kit?
Or is it meant to guarantee a certain status? It's a huge distinction.
And this case really forces you to look at that through something called the standard of living doctrine.
Yeah, we're not just talking about a couple splitting up. We have a husband who's earning lakhs, while his ex-wife was initially handed, what, Rs. $20,000 a month?
I mean, that's nothing. That barely covers rent in a metro city, let alone anything else.
Yeah.
It feels less like a legal right and more like a charity handout.
Precisely. And the husband, Raja, he was really banking on that perception. He used a very common strategy.
The net income defense.
Exactly. He argued his take-home pay was only about 1.64 lakhs a month.
So when you hear that number, a demand for 50,000 can sound, a bit steep. But that number was misleading, wasn't it?
Oh, it was pure financial gymnastics. He had his mandatory deductions, sure, but he also threw involuntary ones, new family obligations.
Anything to make his wallet look thinner to the court.
Yes. But the Supreme Court, they didn't just look at the bottom line on his payslip.
They went straight to the top line.
They looked at the gross salary, over 21 lakhs a year. And the court's message was clear.
You can't hide behind new lifestyle choices to deny your ex-spouse the dignity she had during the marriage.
That's the core of it. The ruling wasn't, here's enough so you don't starve. It was, you must maintain the status she was accustomed to.
And that's why they more than doubled the alimony to Rs. 50,000.
And, that brings us to the second big win in this judgment, which is maybe a little more technical, but so important.
The inflation adjustment.
Yes. The High Court had initially granted a 5% increase every 3 years.
Which sounds okay on paper. But 3 years? The way costs are rising? That's an eternity.
Money just loses value faster than the legal system usually admits. By the time that 3-year mark hits, that 5% bump has already been wiped out.
So the Supreme Court saw that erosion of value.
They did, and they tightened the timeline drastically.
They moved it to every 2 years.
Right. It sounds like a small change, but over 10 or 20 years, that compounding frequency makes a massive, massive difference in her actual purchasing power.
It makes the income real again, something that can actually breathe with the economy. Now, we had to touch on the third person in this whole thing, their son. He's 26.
And this is where the court drew a very clear, hard line. The law is quite specific here.
He's an adult.
He's an adult, so no mandatory monthly maintenance. The wife had asked for it, but the court said no.
So basically, he has to stand on his own 2 feet for daily expenses.
For day-to-day stuff, yes. But, and this is a really crucial nuance, the court went out of its way to explicitly protect his inheritance rights.
So the father can't just wash his hands of him completely?
Not at all. The monthly checks for groceries might stop, but the son's legal stake in his father's assets, that remains completely untouched.
Okay, so let's distill this. For anyone listening who might be going through something like this, what's the big takeaway?
I think it's simple. Stop focusing on the net pay column.
Right.
If you're seeking maintenance or you're the lawyer on the case, you have to demand the gross income data. Don't let the other side define their capacity to pay by what's left over after they've moved money around.
And you have to fight for that 2-year inflation clause.
Absolutely. A fixed amount is just a slow decline in this kind of economy.
It really makes you think, though. It pushes the boundary of how we see all of this. In an economy where costs are always rising, is maintenance even the right word anymore? Or should the law eventually move towards something more like, wealth parity, where you're not just splitting the cash, but the power?
That's a fascinating thought.
Something to mull over. Thanks for listening to this deep dive.